My favorite thing about Norway is the nature.
But of course the nature in Norway is fantastic.
It's a small, tiny little fairy tale country.
We got different things to do, mountains, sea life, everything. I think it's really okay.
From peaceful, sun-drenched fjords to wildly rugged peaks, from pastoral farmlands rich with life to the cool blue ice of Arctic winter, Norway truly is nature's triumph. Since ancient times, the land, seas, and skies of Norway have influenced the lifestyles and inspired the culture of the Norwegian people. Cosmopolitan, yet fiercely patriotic, humble, yet steadfast, independent, yet outgoing, the people here are in communion with their surroundings. Though the scenery stirs the spirit to soar, the Norwegian people remain genuine and down to earth. Norway occupies a long, narrow landmass between Sweden and the Norwegian Sea. Its northeastern extremities share borders with Finland and Russia. Stretching more than 1,100 miles, Norway is the longest country in Europe. In fact, residents of the Norwegian capital of Oslo live closer to Paris, Munich, and Budapest than they do to continental Norway's northernmost reaches. Norway boasts Europe's largest glacier, deepest lake, most expansive plateau, and some of the world's most beautiful waterfalls. Norway's most distinctive topographic features are its fjords, narrow, cavernous waterways burrowed out of bedrock through billions of years of shifts in the Earth's surface and millions of years of glaciation. Along the west coast, the land juts in and out like shark's teeth. The hills between the fjords rise as high above sea level as the fjords drop below. Stretched straight, the Norwegian coastline would extend 32,000 miles. Norway's proximity to the North Pole makes it home to enough glaciers to keep the country's countless fjords and 160,000 lakes filled with crisp, clear water. The warm waters of the Gulf Stream, coursing along Norway's west coast, keep the fjords from freezing over. The Gulf also tempers the northern climate, providing warm, moist summers and mild, wet winters for the majority of Norway's population, most of whom live along the coast. Still, 2/3 of Norway is mountains, and inland areas, untouched by the Gulf's generosity, endure very cold, snowy winters and cool summers. Summer days are lengthy and the midnight sun therapeutic, but winter nights seem to last forever.
At the beginning it's very nice. You kind of calm down for the winter time. You stay inside, you're having a cozy time with your family or whatever in front of the fireplace. You think it's really nice. As it gets lighter again, you do appreciate that so much more. It's a great feeling when it starts getting light again. It's wonderful.
The North Pole holds another advantage for Norway. It provides the magnetic attraction that gives Norwegians front row seats for the spectacular aurora borealis, the northern lights. Arcs of tinted light drop a veil before the stars and sway to a cosmic dance beat.
The aurora is an electrical phenomenon that occurs at fairly high altitude over the Earth's surface, caused primarily by particles that come from the sun.
Richard Armstrong of Norway's University of Tromsø, the northernmost university in the world, studies this ethereal light show.
These particles from the sun ionize and excite the molecules and atoms in the Earth's atmosphere, and it's the light from this process that you see, and which is the aurora.
Though the aurora performs non-stop, it's best viewed on clear nights in northern areas from September through March.
It is a very beautiful phenomenon. Its colors perhaps sometimes are rather, say, toned down, but there is always green and yellow and blue to some extent and quite a lot of red. The whole sky can nearly be covered by it, or it can be just a thin strip along one horizon. And then you look around and 2 minutes later it's all gone, or it's in another part of the sky behaving in a quite different fashion. It is a very beautiful phenomenon.
One resource Norway has in abundance is space. Except for Denmark, which owns the sparsely populated island of Greenland, Norway has more land per person than any other country in Europe.
Could walk for days and days. You could walk for weeks without seeing a house, without meeting people. Well, if you choose the routes and try to avoid inhabited places, you could do so.
Nearly half of Norway's population lives in the far south. Oslo, the capital, is the country's largest city. It's home to about 500,000 people. Tucked into the elbow of a seawater fjord, Oslo is vast as well. One of the 10 most spacious cities among the capitals of the world. Like many Norwegian cities, Oslo was little more than an isolated settlement thousands of years ago, inhabited by ancient hunters and gatherers who moved in after the glaciers retreated. Intimidating mountains and untamed waters separated people from their neighbors then. But beginning in the 9th century, the bold seamanship of the Vikings linked Norway's towns and villages. Around the year 1050, the Vikings established Oslo as a market center. The enterprising, daring-do spirit of the Vikings has endured in Norway, despite 4 centuries of control by Denmark and Sweden. The Vikings' fascination with other lands and their control of travel and trade live on in the Norwegian people. Today, Oslo's chief remnant of the Middle Ages is Akershus Fortress. Akershus was built after Oslo became Norway's capital in the 14th century. The city has had its share of misfortune over the years. On several occasions, fire has leveled the city. After one such devastating blaze in 1624, King Christian IV, then the Danish king of Norway, ordered Oslo rebuilt near the ramparts of Akershus. Following Norway's union with Sweden on the 17th of May, 1814, Swedish King Carl Johan XIV erected the royal palace. It stands today at the west end of the street that bears his name. the palace became home to King Haakon VII when he was crowned king of an independent Norway in 1905. His son, King Olaf, inherited the throne in 1957, and Olaf's son, Harald, assumed the position upon the death of his father in 1991. Besides being home to the royal family, Oslo houses the country's parliament, the Storting. Hans Rossjorda is one of the Storting's 157 members.
In Norway, the king is the front figure of the country. Of course, he will always attend to government meeting at the castle. That is habit. But the king's role in politics is not what it was in old time. But the king's sign and the king's will is, in a way, done through the government.
Oslo is the political, commercial, and cultural center of Norway. And with its art and music festivals, all-night clubs, and cozy cafes, Oslo is fast gaining a reputation as Scandinavia's weekend getaway spot. Norway is a relatively expensive place because of its remoteness and its steep taxes. While the cost of living here is noteworthy, so is the standard of living, and Norwegians who complain about one rightfully boast about the other.
We get a lot of advantages, of course. We have a very good social system, medical system. You won't find many Beverly Hills areas in Norway, but you won't find slum either. The average living standard is very high, I would say. So even if we are grumbling, even if the weather is bad from time to time, I think that most Norwegians would say when it comes to reality, thank heavens we are living in Norway.
Oslo caters to the Norwegian penchant for the outdoors. The city has 343 lakes, 40 islands, and 93 square miles of forest within its city limits. A joint exhibit of the works of both man and nature is Frogner Park, a 75-acre sculpture garden displaying the human condition as portrayed by Gustav Vigeland. Vigeland, who studied briefly under French sculptor Auguste Rodin, is little known outside of Norway. That's because he made a controversial pact with the city of Oslo in 1921. Vigeland vowed to give the city all his present and future works. In return, the city provided Vigeland a place to live, a huge studio, a blacksmith shop, a team of stonecutters, and all the material he needed. Today, Vigeland's studio is a museum, and the work he left the city includes more than 200 compositions in bronze and granite in Frogner Park. The 55-foot, 260-ton Tower of Humanity in the center of the park used a single piece of granite that took 6 months to lug up the hill from Oslo's waterfront. 3 stonecutters spent 13 years carving it. More widely known outside of Norway is artist Edward Munch, the pioneering expressionist, whose most famous work is The Scream. In an effort to outdo Vigeland, Munch donated to Oslo, with no obligation, More than 1,000 paintings, 18,000 prints, and 3,000 drawings, all now housed in the Munch Museum. Munch so resented Vigeland's opportunistic deal with the city that he destroyed a bust of himself that he had once commissioned Vigeland to make. Norway's greatest gift to drama is the work of Henrik Ibsen, whose plays have been performed at Oslo's National Theatre since it opened in 1899. Ibsen's timeless tales of complex individuals struggling against the conformities of society have touched a global chord that transcends cultures. In this scene from Ibsen's classic, A Doll's House, the character of Nora Helmer hides a secret of her past from her patronizing husband, Torvald.
Sanglerke må ha rent nebb og kvitre med, aldri falske toner.
There's far more to this kingdom than the attractions of its capital. Ancient gathering places with Nordic names such as Bergen, Trondheim, Telemark, and Lillehammer remain vibrant pieces of the Norwegian landscape. Flourishing between the deep waters of the Punna Fjord and the 7 hills overlooking it, Bergen is the second most populated city in Norway, about half the size of Oslo. Bergen probably was a market site before King Olaf the Peaceful officially founded it in 1070. In fact, Bergen preceded Oslo as the country's crown city. In the 13th century, Bergen became the first capital of a unified Norway and rose to be the cardinal religious center as well. Bergen's heyday began in the 14th century, when commerce brought here by the German Hanseatic League made it one of the busiest cities in Scandinavia. The German merchants of Bergen became so prosperous, however, that the Norwegians moved their capital to Oslo. Not until the 1830s did Oslo's population surpass Bergen. Along with other medieval cities built of wood, Bergen has been ravaged by fire over the years, but signs of the past remain. The Bergen district is a row of colorful houses and shops near the wharf. After a disastrous fire in 1702, the community rebuilt the buildings to resemble the Hansa structures of centuries earlier. Great care was taken to portray the living conditions of the medieval times. Nearby museums exhibit the old ways. Fantoft Stave Church, in a neighboring community, aptly named Paradise, was built in the 12th century more than 100 miles north of Bergen and rebuilt here in 1880. These uniquely Norwegian buildings are towering examples of the spirit of the people who lived here in the Middle Ages. The stave churches rose to what then seemed miraculous heights at the hands of skillful builders who had learned to fashion the country's trees into long Viking boats. They erected these churches by using beams and stacking gables and steep roofs to withstand the heavy snows. Inside, the logs are lovingly painted and engraved. More than 1,000 of these structures existed at one time. Only about 24 remain. Nowhere does the age-old reliance on the sea continue to be more evident to all the senses than at Bergen's famous fish market near the harbor. Seafood of every imaginable ilk is hawked and haggled over by merchants each weekday morning starting at 8 o'clock. Here the scents of flowers, farm produce, and fresh fish compete for the nose's attention.
We have fresh fish, salmon. We have two different types of fresh salmon. It's the wild salmon and it's the cultivated palm salmon. The wild salmon is of course the best. We have the other typical things like cod, and we have crabs that has been cooked already, caviar. Then we have all these smoked things, smoked mackerel and smoked small herring. That is very, very nice to because it has a very strong taste. And the shrimps, fresh shrimps. Nice, beautiful, beer and fresh shrimp. Yeah.
A trip to Bergen must include a visit to nearby Trollhaugen Manor, once the cottage of Bergen's most prominent citizen, Edvard Grieg. Composer of such classics as the Peer Gynt Suite, which he created for an Ibsen play, Grieg lived here from 1885 until his death in 1907 at age 64. He spent those years with a prime view of the countryside that so inspired him.
Grieg tried to describe the Norwegian landscape in his music.
Auden Kaiser is curator of the Grieg Museum.
Not only the landscape, maybe even the kind of personality of the Norwegian people. We are rather simple-minded, I would say, in many ways. Grieg was a simple man. His tunes are important as they are. They are not huge. They are simple and easygoing and easy. How shall I put it? They speak to ordinary people in a very fine way.
Though Grieg and his wife Nina are laid to rest near the cottage, Trollhaugen appears as though Grieg had just stepped out for a moment to be with nature. And while awaiting his return, the walls, the mementos, the manuscripts resound with their master's strain. High above Bergen, the funicular railway climbs to Flaun, the most famous of the city's 7 hills. Here are hiking trails and breathtaking vantage points from which to watch the spellbinding city below, the sparkling seas beyond, and the spectacular skies above.
The western part of Norway, it's brilliant from a scenic point of view. I don't think you find anything as beautiful in the world as the western fjord district of Norway.
Bergen is the portal to Norway's sensational fjord district, where cliffs tower like sentinels guarding the deep blue waters below, where waterfalls waltz with rainbows. High in the mountains, at the starting points of the fjords, the Norwegian people wisely harness the power of falling water to generate electricity and fuel their factories. North of Bergen is the Sonja Fjord. With a length of 120 miles and a depth of more than 3/4 of a mile, it's the longest and deepest fjord in the world. Quaint villages, each with its own distinct character, sprout from the hillsides along the fjords. A favorite stop on the Sonja Fjord is Balestrand. Anchored at a junction with 3 other fjords, Balestrand also is far enough inland to offer excursions to some of Norway's glaciers. A century ago, the well-heeled of Europe vacationed here. Now, this scenic resort area caters more to Norwegian travelers.
It was artists who really discovered these parts of the world first. Painters and writers, they came in here and they painted pictures of this country and they wrote about it. So then the first tourists started coming here, and then this place, which is very open, and the scenery is really spectacular with the mountains behind here.
The Geiranger Fjord, north of Balestrand, is regarded as one of the country's most beautiful. The sheer cliffs drop mountain meltwater into the calm, salty fjord below. At every turn, another waterfall teems from on high, each more captivating than the one before. The allure of these cascades is reflected in their romantic names: Seven Sisters, The Wooer, Bridal Veil. Farther north along Norway's zigzagging coast is Trondheim, Norway's third largest city, the gateway to the Arctic. Trondheim is the most historic of Norway's ancient cities. On the map 75 years before Bergen was founded, Trondheim flourished as a center of trade and Christian faith long before Bergen and Oslo outgrew it. Olaf Tryggvason, a Viking warrior who helped convert Norway to Christianity, founded the city nearly 1,000 years ago. First known as Nideros, the city later took the name of the nearby Trondheim Fjord. King Olaf I was followed by Olaf the Holy, Saint Olaf, under whose reign Trondheim truly blossomed in the 11th century. To this day, Christians make pilgrimages to the Nideros Cathedral, which was built over St. Olaf's tomb. Fires caused a number of transformations in the cathedral over the years. It shows both Gothic and Romanesque influences. Even Gustav Vigeland had a hand in sculpting some of the gargoyles. More than any other structure in Norway, the Nidaros Cathedral draws together the country's history. Not only are past kings buried here, but each ruler since King Haakon VII has returned here for a consecration ceremony upon taking the throne. The royal family often summers in Trondheim, staying at the 200-year-old, 100-room Stiftsgarden. This is believed to be the largest wooden building in northern Europe. Its furnishings are eclectic and relatively unpretentious, considering, of course, that household items at the Northern Royal Palace include thrones for chairs and crowns for headwear. No matter how one slices it, a hankering for fresh fish and seafood consumes people throughout Norway. Including those at the fish market in Trondheim. The city of Tromsø covers 2,400 square miles of land 250 miles above the Arctic Circle. For the 50,000 rugged residents of this remote shipping port, daily living has changed little for generations. However, modern developments such as the discovery of oil and completion of the longest suspension bridge in Scandinavia have made Tromsø something of a boomtown. Floating like an iceberg among the buildings across the Tromsø Bridge, the Arctic Church stands out as a contemporary commemoration of the age-old forces most respected this far north: ice and light. These are the latitudes of long winter nights and endless summer days. This far north, the light of day can be a blessing, the dark of night a test of faith. In the city of Bodø, south of Tromsø, the studio of Oscar Bodøgaard, a renowned Norwegian painter, reflects an artist's study of the nature of light.
Nei, lyset det har med liv å gjøre.
Light is life. If there is no light, there is no life. No life, no colors. The light up here is very special. 1 month out of the year, it's dark in the winter. 1 month, it is all light in the summer.
No one appreciates the forces of nature more than those Norwegians who exact their living from the land and sea. Fishing villages and farms hug the harbors and hillsides, hunching over the fjords. The singular splendor experienced here by travelers is just part of the daily landscape for the families who live here.
The farms in Norway are, at least here in the west of Norway, are very small. We have cows, some sheep, and we grow some vegetables, kohlrabi, cabbages, and so on.
Because most of the country is mountainous, farmland accounts for only about 5% of Norway's total area. Cereal crops are mostly imported, and farmers concentrate on growing short-season produce. They also raise livestock. Modes of travel in Norway are as diverse as the country's terrain and tailored to its obstacles. Trains chug along waterways, plow by pastures, and tunnel through mountains of rock. They serve as moving testimonies to engineering genius, a heritage in Norway where nature is the mother of invention. Man's mastery of nature also is evident in Norwegian roadways. Automobiles wind their way over unfordable fjords and through impassable ice fields. Likewise, seagoing vessels of all shapes and sizes wind in and out of the tortuous, steep-sided waterways, carrying people and their belongings.
We're born with skis on our feet, you know.
Norway is the cradle of skiing. Norwegians have been strapping long, narrow planks to their feet for more than 4,000 years. The evolution of this means of recreation and travel unfolds in detail at the ski museum at the base of the Holmenkollen ski jump. The century-old jump outside of Oslo, the oldest jump in the world, is the site of the 1952 Winter Olympics. It's considered a national symbol of Norway. Olympic skiers continue returning to Norwegian slopes to train and compete, with Lillehammer, about 80 miles north of Oslo, serving as the venue for Olympic downhill competitions in 1994. The downhill approach is also known as alpine skiing, versus the cross-country sport of Nordic skiing. Both methods owe many of their developments to the Norwegians. The Telemark region southwest of Oslo is best known for its contributions to skiing. Here, a 19th century tenant farmer by the name of Sondre Norheim led breakthrough advances in ski design and techniques. But regardless of design or technique, this bodily surrender to the gentle tug of gravity is more than a national pastime. It's a national passion.
It's the kind of thing where the whole family goes outside. It's not necessarily like you go out with your friends, it's more like a family thing.
You feel that you are a part of the life in the open free. Yourself doesn't mean so much. You are out in the huge nature and see the life out there.
Even summer skiing is popular. In some spots, such as the Sommerskier slopes on the Jostedals Glacier, the weather actually gets too harsh for winter skiing.
Up there today, I think there's a lot of people, and what they do, they go out and go around skiing, but also find some places and sit down and make some food, take some food with them, and have a very nice day there.
Whatever the mode of travel in Norway, people manage to tame the earth and elements in ways that let man and nature be companions, respecting each other, adjusting to each other's idiosyncrasies, and enjoying their ride together. Travel is the birthright in Norway that predates the Viking Leif Erikson, who is believed to have ventured to North America in the 11th century. In Oslo, the Maritime Museum celebrates the Norwegian tradition of travel by displaying the craft of boat building. The Kon-Tiki Museum, also in Oslo, showcases the travels of another Norwegian adventurer, Thor Heyerdahl. Heyerdahl modeled ancient rafts, the Ra II and Kon-Tiki, and sailed them to Egypt and Polynesia to test theories of prehistoric migration. Geographic seclusion has instilled a curiosity, a daring, a determination to explore. Signs of this tradition abound. Pub tents dot the Norwegian countryside. Camping trailers speed along the highways. In Norway, wanderlust is natural. But so is home life. Bonding together through the dark and chill and snows of winter, Norwegian families have a long tradition of spending time together, beautifying their homes with rose paintings and woodwork. They'd rather be outside, but they make the best of their time indoors. To help the seasons pass, many stay in touch with the amusements of their ancestors.
It's a very important concept in Norway, the troll, because if you look at all the folk tales, there is always a troll.
Sort of funny little things who is living in the wood and with big nose and I don't know.
Oh, I'm like a troll. Oh, it's I don't know what it is. It's a big person with hair, outside hair, and has some mustache and something like that.
Storytelling also has a rich history in Norway. Many children's stories involve trolls, long-nosed sprites who live in the mountain mists. And if seen in the light of day, trolls burst into piles of stone, which could explain why Norway has so many mountains. Kari and Ardis Huse, who run a troll museum near Lillehammer, describe the creatures.
Well, there are very many stories about trolls, and some of them are rather dramatic. But you know, the trolls, they are not monsters. They are good inside. They are a little dumb, but at the bottom, they are very, very nice people. So the children know them.
But some children are afraid of trolls because they will say, if you're not good, the troll will come and get you.
Whether life imitates art or art imitates life, the importance of family and relationships pervades Norway.
It's the nature, the air, the light, the sea and the mountains, everything.
Oh, it's fresh air, it's peaceful, quiet, and we have a good way of living.
To the people of Norway, home extends far beyond the hearth. Ask anyone here what they like best about Norway, and everyone reveals a stirring love and respect for nature.
My favorite thing about Norway is the big coast and the big mountains and the nature.
I think maybe the nature is the most beautiful thing in Norway. So you have a lot of mountains and beautiful trees and waters and seas, and all the fjords, of course.
There's no really alternative to being outside, so it's a natural thing to do. I mean, you got the nature, you got the spirit, and you go for it. That's I suppose that's why you stay outside.
Well, you have to talk about the snow in the mountains, of course, because that's a big part of it. I think I would say it's a very simple country, but it has quality values, and it's the country that I love.
Because Norway has so much space for so few people, Norwegians have a strong sense of community that includes the nature around them. People here know what good living is. As they have for generations, the Norwegian people count their blessings, enjoying them and preserving them while keeping pace with the rest of the world. The people here are proud to share their kingdom and its extraordinary treasures.
When you come close to the Norwegians, they are really nice. They will ask you to come home and visit their homes. They will show you the nearest viewpoint from where you can view some of the nicest fjords in the world. The country has something to offer for everyone, for the people living here and for the visitor.
place to place, we're so much more. A new idea of what an airline's for. You know we'll say yes, we'll show you how we care. We're SAS, and we'll be there. We're SAS, and we'll be there. We're SAS.
International Video Network brings you the greatest adventures in video entertainment. Award-winning documentaries from Reader's Digest, exploring the masterworks of man and nature. Travel planning videos from Fodors, revealing looks at the people, places, and cultures of the world. Rand McNally Video Expeditions, taking you to some of the most remote and dangerous places on Earth. Rand McNally Video Travelers, whirlwind tours you can enjoy from the comfort of your living room. Super Cities, celebrating the best-loved cities of the world. And Video Visits, whisking you away to exotic, romantic, and popular destinations. International Video Network. Great adventures in video. See your local video retailer or call International Video Network at 1-800-669-4486, extension 850 for your free catalog, featuring more than 250 travel, documentary, and special interest videos.